Running your own real estate investment business can be stressful, time-consuming, and difficult to manage. Where do you start? Why go out and try and reinvent the wheel when we have the answer? With our exclusive training program, we will teach you how to free up your time to build your business, develop your goals, learning where to find the money, how to find better deals, keeping track of offers, building a team, and developing a business plan that works for you. We at Real Impact Real Estate Training and Mentoring have all the answers for you. We have several plans to help you get your business to the next level. We have developed the best one-on-one personal training system in the industry. We have a proven structure that has been developed for more than 50 years through the purchase and sales of thousands of homes and commercial properties. We will help you set up and build your real estate investment business. Whether you are new to investing or you are a seasoned professional, we have a plan for you to customize your business to a method that works, is affordable, and fits your budget. With training modules like finding money, finding deals, learning how to get correct comps, building a team, short sales, subject twos, foreclosures, making multiple offers, understanding auctions, REOs, and tax sales, working to build your construction team, and finding sellers and buyers. Find your property management team, plus over 70 additional training modules to choose from. Sit down with us for a one-on-one consulting to see what training plan is best to develop your goals and to build your business by using the 5 M's of investing: mining, money, maintenance, marketing, and management. Wouldn't your life be great if you can live it on your own terms? We help you develop and structure your business to take massive action. Join the Real Impact Real Estate Training today. Change your life today with real estate investing.
Hi there, this is Roger Pascal. I'm the CEO of Real Impact Training Systems. Welcome to our call tonight. We've got a special guest tonight. We're pretty darn excited about it. So tonight, we're going to be talking to Randy Hughes. Randy is known as Mr. Land Trust. He is a phenomenal wealth of knowledge of doing land trust. I do not personally know anybody else in the country that is as knowledgeable about land trust as Randy is. So tonight we have several of our franchise owners on the call tonight. You're sure to get some great information. We have Randy coming in the first week of May, and he's going to be doing about 6 presentations through that first week of May for 1 hour introduction of what a land trust is and what it can do. And then he's going to follow that back up on May the 20th, which is a Saturday. And in Dallas, we're going to be holding a 1-day, full-day boot camp where when you leave that boot camp, you will have written your first land trust. Because that's what Randy does. So with that, let's our producer CJ, can you put everybody on the board for us? All right, we have Karen Maxwell, which is Impact Plano. We have Doug and Renee Toon, Impact Longview. We have Eric Short, Impact Grand Prairie and South Dallas. And we have our guest speaker tonight, Mr. Land Trust himself, Randy Hughes. Good afternoon. Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Great.
Good.
Great.
Good. All right. So, Randy, just tell us a little bit about yourself real quick.
Well, I am a single family house guy. That's how I make my living. That's how I've made my living all my life. I started buying houses when I was in college. Bought my first house when I was 19. And I can honestly say that I regret selling any house that I've ever sold in the last 50 years because they are now worth a lot more than they were when I sold them. So I'm a buy and hold guy. I only sell when I have to, marry off a daughter or buy some groceries or something. Other than that, I buy and hold. And it's been very profitable for me to have that philosophy. Plus, to me, it's easier to make money through appreciation than it is hard work like rehabbing and all the other ways that we can make money in this business. To me, the easiest way is to buy and hold these things for the long term, because yeah, there are ups and downs, but if you look back over the history of single family houses, you will see that they have gone up substantially. In fact, I just was driving through a neighborhood tonight before I got on the meeting, and passed by a house that I bought about, oh gosh, it's probably been 15 years ago that I bought it. And I paid $70,000 for it. And now it's worth between 200 and 225, I'm estimating. And that's, to me, that's pretty easy money. It's a lot easier than working hard. So I love this business, but as we're building wealth, it's important to realize that there's a difference between building wealth and retaining wealth into your retirement years. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight, is the importance of not owning real estate in your name personally, but holding title in a trust.
Very good. That's why we're here. You were in town a couple of years ago. My business has changed dramatically. I've been using land trust for quite a while, but with you coming in town and you showing me firsthand, and guiding me through that, it has just been a change in my business that I couldn't imagine any other way. And I do a lot of subject twos, and I like to put those into land trust because it does keep, just kind of keeps it under the radar, I guess is the best way to put that. And so you suggest, in your meetings that subject twos are a very viable reason to use land trust, right?
They are. It's a great way to handle it. It reminds me, Roger, of, I was working earlier today on my bi-monthly newsletter. I'm the only guy on the planet writing a land trust newsletter for real estate investors. And I bullet pointed 6 scenarios in my next newsletter, as to why you would want to use a trust to hold title. And it's sometimes it's so, unless you've been in this business for a while, you don't realize all the strange things that can happen. And for example, one of the scenarios I described was, you met somebody, you don't know them really well, and so you haven't built a relationship of trust and that sort of thing, but you have an opportunity to do a deal together. How should you structure that? Should you go on a deed with somebody that you don't really know that well, that you haven't been able to test their honesty and their financial ability? Probably not. It's probably a very risky thing to do, but you don't want to pass up the opportunity that's presented to both of you. So the way to deal with that uncertainty is to put the title to this real estate into a trust. So if this other person that you're doing business with turns out to not be so honest, or maybe has a lien or a judgment recorded against them, it will not affect the title to the property. So I think it's always important in our business, because there's so many ways of making money in this business. You should always ask yourself first, how can this go wrong? I got this great deal facing me. If I structure it such and such way, how can this go wrong? So I think it's a good idea to look at it that way, and then structure your deal to where you mitigate those potential losses as best you can. And certainly not putting your name on the title, not putting multiple investors' names on the title is a really smart thing to do, because life happens. People get divorced. They have a lien or a judgment, or they're in a car accident, or whatever it is that can adversely affect that title can destroy your hopes and dreams of making money in this business, and hopefully, living a good lifestyle and retiring off of your hard-earned efforts.
Absolutely. Karen, Doug, Renee, Eric, y'all have any questions that you would like to ask Randy tonight?
Well, I have a question from the chat. Matthew, Randy, Matthew is asking, is there a way that, how do you get on the list to receive your newsletters? Is this only available to your students or is this available to the public?
Well, it is just available to my students. Those folks that that purchase my home study course and learn how to create a trust. One of the benefits they get as a student of mine is a subscription to my newsletter, and they also get access to the last 14 years worth of newsletter and the last 14 years worth of coaching calls. I do a monthly coaching call for my students. So there's a tremendous amount of information that can short circuit your learning process. If there was nobody out there to teach you anything, it would take you a lot longer to learn everything in life.
Absolutely.
No matter whether it's financial or otherwise. But it's kind of like my mentor told me, if you read a good book on real estate investing, each page is like 100 hours worth of time that you don't have to spend learning it on your own. So bootstrap yourself up on other people's success and their trial and error, and you will become successful faster than if you don't learn from those who've already made mistakes or developed great ways of making money. You can learn exponentially by learning from other people that can train you and teach you how to make money in this business, because there are many, many ways of doing it, but there are probably about as many ways of losing money as there are of making money.
Absolutely. So Matthew, I would definitely suggest that you try to get to one of the local meetings in May. Well, I'm sure we'll be given the dates later on that, Roger, where he's going to be when, and learning all about that. So he's also going to give us, what is it for that? If they come that night, they're going to get one of your books.
Well, for the speeches that first week in May you're talking about? Yeah, I have, I've been teaching this stuff for 24 years to other real estate investors, and I've spoken to literally thousands of audiences. So I get asked pretty much the same questions wherever I go. So I put together this little booklet that has over 50 reasons to use a trust to hold title to your investments. Because I don't have time to go through 50 reasons in a 1-hour speech at these meetings coming up. So I'll give that out for free. I'll give either a hard copy or an electronic version for you to read. And we'll go through probably 10 or 12 of the most important reasons at each of those venues. But you'll want to read all of them, because there are many, many ways of using these trusts to make money safely in our business.
Right, exactly. Does anybody else have any questions?
Yep. Once I become a student, how much does it cost to do a land trust? Would it be better for me to become a student and then do a land trust? What's the advantage there of becoming a student?
Well, the advantage is I teach you how to create a trust, and once we work together and get your first trust created. And then if that's a format you can put on your computer and use over and over again, and it will literally take you 5 minutes to create a trust, and it will not cost you one dime. It doesn't cost anything to create a trust like it does an LLC or a corporation. So if you think about a lifetime of investing and how many properties you go through, I mean, I've bought over 200 houses in the last 50 years. Now, if I had to pay an attorney to create a trust for 200 houses, and they're going to charge anywhere from $500 to $1,500 per trust, depending what part of the country you're in. So let's say at $1,000 a trust times 200, that's a lot of money. So you're not only going to understand what you're doing better, but you're going to save a ton of money by creating your own trust. And then you can learn how to link these trusts together with other entities like LLCs and corporations to get the best of both worlds as a real estate investor.
Cool.
Cool. Renee, I think you had a question.
Well, honestly, Randy just answered it, because I know that when I first heard about the trust process, my brain immediately went to how much is a lawyer going to cost me to get this drawn up? But he just answered that. So I'm so glad you touched on that, Randy, because I know that there's people probably sitting down here today thinking, oh, this is probably a pretty expensive technique, but not with you, not with
Well,
your
let
training.
me add to that, Renee. Number one, it's going to be hard to find a lawyer that knows how to do this. Not that it's so difficult. It's just that they don't get taught this in law school. So unless they learn how to create these trusts after law school, which most attorneys don't, they don't know how to do it. They don't understand them. And that's not necessarily a bad thing from my viewpoint. I mean, anytime that I can operate my business at a level that most attorneys don't understand, I think that's a good thing for me and my family and my long-term success. Now, another bullet point in my recent newsletter that's kind of interesting is I gave a scenario of a guy who bought a piece of ground and financed it at the bank. And all of a sudden they found out that ground used to have, years ago, a gas station on it and gas tanks underneath the ground. So when the EPA got wind of that story, they came after him and caused him so much aggravation that he stopped making payments and tried to get out from underneath the deal. And of course, he couldn't. The bank's trying to foreclose, and his life is a mess. So I'm not saying necessarily that a trust would solve that problem, but it would go a long way of helping you get it solved, because I know another man, actually in I think West Texas, who owns land that's undeveloped with a big lake on it. And he said he never goes out there. He just owns it for the fun, I guess. But the EPA came in to him and said, you need to do $50,000 worth of work on this lake, clean it up in case somebody wants to swim in it. And he said, well, that's crazy. Nobody's going to swim in this. Nobody even knows it's out here. They said, tough, we're the government and you got to do it. So along about the time that happened, he ran into me and I taught him how to create a trust, because he was holding title to that lake and the ground around the lake in his personal name. So I taught him how to use a trust. The EPA came back a year later and said, did you do what we told you to do? And he said, no, I sold the property. And they said, well, who'd you sell it to? And he said, well, just some trust bought it. And they're still to this day trying to figure out who to hold accountable for that lake. So there are lots and lots of problems that we can run into in this business, and several ways that we can avoid those problems if we think ahead of time. And the smartest way to buy real estate, no matter what kind of real estate it is to take title directly from the seller to your trust, so you aren't personally ever in the chain of title. Because the examples with the EPA is they can go back 20 years and hold everybody who's been in title responsible for cleanup costs, if they can find you. That is, if you're holding it in a trust, they'll probably be able to collect from those who owned that property in their personal names, but not somebody that owned it in trust. Because you see, there's no registry for trusts. You can't go online and look up who owns a trust like you can with an LLC or corporation in most states. So it gives you a level of anonymity that other entities just can't give you.
Very good.
I was going to ask something. So, those of us who have hung out with Randy at Cancun or at his meetings or when he's been training us on this stuff, we've got a pretty good idea of why we need to structure our business this way and put our properties in a land trust. But I'm sure there's some new people on the call and possibly going to be listening to the recording. Some real quick bullet points as to why.
As to why to use a trust?
Why to use a trust?
Well, I think the first and foremost reason is anonymity. land trusts really weren't designed to be great asset protection tools. But when we link the trust together with LLCs and corporations, then we really kind of get the best of both worlds. We get the anonymity that the land trust provides, and we get the asset protection benefit that the corporation or LLC provides. As I said before, you can't look up who owns a trust. So just the mere fact that we're not on title will avoid a lot of problems in this business. And I will give some specific stories and diagram it all out for everybody at these meetings. But as real estate investors, and if we're not big time, we got $10 million worth of net worth and up, it's something that we can do ourselves inexpensively and efficiently. And then if we get to that $5 or $10 million level, then maybe we ought to spend $50,000 hiring an attorney to structure some other fancy type of trusts and entities together. But for the basic real estate investor who's maybe protecting 2 or 10 or 20 properties, this is a good structure, not only from a privacy and asset protection standpoint, but from a estate planning benefit, because these trusts will help you avoid probate. And probate is a legal process that your estate has to go through when you die, if you don't have, if you're not using trusts. If you're using trusts, your estate doesn't have to go through probate, and it's a very smooth transition from one beneficiary to another of these trusts without going through probate. And the worst part about probate, in my mind, is that you got to publish publicly what you owned when you were alive and who is it transferred to now, who owns it now. So you're really just laying yourself bare open to the public when you go through probate. That was just coincidentally, that was another bullet point in my newsletter, was a lot of real estate investors invest in multiple states. So you may live in Texas now, and you may be buying property in Tennessee. That's a hot market. Florida's a hot market. If you do that, though, and you buy those properties out of state in your name personally, and you die, your estate has to be probated in every state where you own property. If you hold title to your real estate in those other states in a trust, you don't have to be probated. So for you folks that like to invest all around the country, you really need to use these trusts from a estate planning angle.
And anyone that's ever been involved in a probate, put it in a trust.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a couple of questions in the chat. Jesus would like to know, can you put a trust in an LLC in Texas?
Well, yes, but you got the terminology a little bit off there, Jesus. You're not putting the trust in the LLC. You'd make the LLC the beneficiary of the trust. So the title goes in the trust, the beneficiary is the LLC, and nobody knows that the beneficiary is the LLC because they can't look up who owns the trust, because, as I said before, there's no registry for trust. But yes, we link them together to get the best of both worlds, I think is what you're driving at, Jesus, and that's certainly what I teach.
I think the next question, I hope that answers Jesus's. Matthew's is kind of along the same lines. Matthew asks, how do you place a trust in an existing LLC, or can you? But I think he has it kind of backwards. So,
yeah, although a lot of real estate investors, I'm included, have LLCs, and I have multiple LLCs that I use in my business, but not to hold the title. So let's say you've been following your attorney's advice and you put 10 rental properties in your LLC, and you titled all of them in that one LLC. And then there is an exposure, a problem that occurs on one property, and the plaintiff sues the owner of that property, say it's an apartment building. They sue, they win, and they get a judgment. Maybe you didn't have enough insurance or the right kind of insurance, or there was an exclusion on the insurance, or the insurance just didn't cover whatever you got sued over. So the plaintiff sues you, they win a judgment against the owner. So who's the owner? Your LLC. So right now, they not only have a judgment against your one property, they've got a judgment against all the assets of that LLC. So you've got 10 properties tied up because of one lawsuit. You can't sell them. You can't refinance them. You are checkmated. So put each property into a separate trust. Then if you lose one, you lose one. At least you don't lose them all by putting them all in one entity. So if you got 10 properties in an LLC now, you like the logic that I've just explained, you're going to deed out of that LLC all 10 properties. You'll have 10 deeds. You'll deed out and into 10 different land trusts. And when you're creating these trust agreements, you will make the beneficiary of the land trust the same LLC. So it's like you took them out of your left pocket and you put them into your right pocket. There's no tax consequence to that. And now you have separated all those assets, which is a basic tenet of asset protection, no matter whether it's cash, stocks, bonds, real estate, whatever the asset is. A basic plan is keep them separate. You don't want to dump, your coin collection and your cash and your real estate and your car and your boat and your motorcycle and your shotgun all in one trust. That's just not smart planning.
Very good points. All very good points. You guys in the chat, we forgot to mention this earlier. If you're watching on YouTube and you want to ask a question, just type it in the live chat box. If you can't see the live chat box, you're going to have to make sure that you're subscribed to our channel and click on the live chat below, like right in the middle here at the bottom. And then you'll be able to ask your questions. Yes, sir, Doug.
I have one more question. So something that's kind of bothered me is that if I have a property and I've put it in a land trust and all of a sudden I need to pay property taxes, do I need to have a separate checking account that says the trust name and not mine when I'm paying the taxes? Because I can see who pays taxes in our county. So if my LLC is paying the taxes and they go to the tax office and see that, well, this must be the beneficiary.
Well, that's a great question, Doug. And that the answer to that all starts at the deed level. When you deed this property into the trust, you've got to put an address on there for the tax bill to be mailed to. Or if the grass gets too tall and the city needs to notify you, there has to be an address on every deed. First off, you don't want to use your home address, certainly. I would suggest you use a post office box. And what that means is if somebody looks up the tax bill as to who it's being mailed to, it's just going to be a P.O. box. And you can play all kinds of button who's got the button games with P.O. boxes. You can even have a mailing service that everything goes to, and then they mail it to you, to your P.O. box. Because as I understand, there are some ways of looking up online who has a P.O. box. You can't just go into the post office and ask them. But that's your first line of defense, is use a P.O. box on the deed. Now, the second line of defense is if you're really concerned about that, pay your property taxes with a cashier's check. So go to the bank, buy a cashier's check made out to the county treasurer's office and take it in and pay the tax bill. And there will be absolutely no record of who made those payments. And then third, if you don't trust the banks, and we're drilling way down here, Doug. If you don't trust the banks, what you do is you go in and you cash a check for the amount of your taxes, and you go into the tax assessor's office and you pay them in cash. And then there's absolutely no tracing that at all.
Interesting.
A little more hassle, but take a briefcase in with $1 bills and make them earn their money.
Right. Jesus asks, can we use another LLC to be the trustee?
Well, Jesus, maybe is the answer. Some states, if you're going to have a entity be the trustee, some states require that entity to be insured, bonded, licensed, and maybe even have a minimum net worth. But if you're in a state that doesn't require that, you could have your another LLC as your trustee. But I don't suggest you do that, even if it's perfectly legal. I think your life is much easier if you have an individual as your trustee, because individuals, all they have to do is get their signature notarized, and they don't have to prove it to anybody that they have the authority to sign on behalf of an LLC. Because if push comes to shove, an attorney, a closing agent, a title company, whoever's involved in the transaction might say, well, wait a minute, how do we know that you have the authority to sign on behalf of the trustee? Maybe you're signing a mortgage because somebody's putting financing on the property that's in the trust, or you're selling the property out of the trust. You need that trustee to sign a deed. So the closing agent's going to say, prove to me you have the authority to sign on behalf of this LLC. Well, that's going to cause you to bring out your LLC documents, your operating agreement, and expose that to somebody. And I think that's not a smart thing to do. And again, if you just have an individual as your trustee, it's just a slam dunk. All they have to do is get their name notarized, and you're off and running.
Good, all good points. We like to keep it simple, as easy, as simple as possible. And Rainey has some great tips. I think my favorite is when you sell your beneficial interest, like instead of selling the property and having to go to the title company and going through the closing and all that stuff, when you just sell someone your beneficial interest in the trust, transfer the property that way.
Exactly. And, that's another bullet point is there are some people out there that were hurt really bad in 2008 with the downturn, and they still may be dealing with liens and judgments and problems. But what they know how to do is make money in the real estate business. Mm-hmm. The problem is if you got liens and judgments against you and you go out and buy a piece of real estate and put your name on it, that lien is going to immediately attach to the property. So, I'm not saying you shouldn't pay the bills you owe, but if your hands are tied and you can't make money, then you can't pay your bills. So if you use a trust and put the title of the property in the trust, and then you either sell the beneficial interest on a contract or sell it outright, you can make some money without these liens and judgments just pulling you down the drain, and then you're in a position where maybe you can go talk to your lien holders and negotiate a resolution to these problems and get out from underneath all this. And I've got many students that were hit really hard during 2008. And they're trying to dig back out, and they're good people. But if you do it the conventional way, you'll never get out from underneath it, and bad things will continue on in your life.
Gotcha. Well, thanks for that tip. What about oh gosh, and I know you're going to get into this. I don't remember if it's at the all-day class or if it's at the shorter one. When you're selling it on a contract, whenever letting them pay owner financing, when we're owner financing, you had a really interesting concept of making them the beneficiary or something like that.
Well, there's several ways of doing that, and Roger's doing this all the time when he's doing these subject to deals. But basically, he's talking to people that have a loan on the property, and the title's in their name, and have them transfer the title to a trust to protect the title from any liens and judgments from either side of the table. And that could be either an all cash deal where they assign the beneficial interest of the trust to you for all cash, and now you're in control of the trust, but the title doesn't change. Or you can be buying it on an installment contract where you give a down payment and make monthly payments. And you can set up an escrow agent and have the escrow agent make the current owner's mortgage payment. And if there's any left over, send it to them, and have a 3 to 5 year balloon with a 25-year amortization. But it really opens up the door for many opportunities that most people can't structure, because most people are wanting to take the title and have the consequences of that. And there are lots of consequences. Not only are your costs a lot higher to do the transaction without a trust, but you can be subject to reassessment of the property. And so, if you're talking to somebody that bought the house 50 years ago for $50,000 and now it's a $400,000 house, but their assessment's only gone up to maybe $100,000 because it never sold. If you buy that house for $400,000, the assessment's going to go from 100 to 400 in one day, and suck all your cash flow out of there. But
Right.
if you use a trust, that's a private transaction. If you're selling the beneficial interest in a trust, that's a non-recorded private transaction. It's perfectly legal. It's recognized by the IRS as a real deal, but the tax assessors are not notified about it. And so you would continue on with that low assessment and the benefits of that low assessment.
Such the concepts the possibilities are endless. I'll say that for sure. We've got a lot of questions coming in. Let's see. Let me catch up here. Jesus would like to know, how can we ensure our trustee doesn't take out another loan to sell our property out from under us without consent and just run off with the money?
Well, Jesus, you've got some really good questions tonight, and it sounds to me like you want to get into the advanced course material.
Hey, Since you don't tell us where you're located so we can make sure that you're attending one of our local meetings, we'd really like to meet you. You do have good questions.
Yeah.
But back to his question.
It's a good question. These trusts have been around for a couple thousand years in England, and they came over to the United States a long time ago. The first trust was formed 125 years ago by Chicago Title. I tell you that story because what that means is, if it were so easy for your trustee to run away with your property or put financing on your property without your authorization, these trusts would not have been around for as long as they have. The short answer is, Jesus, there are checks and balances that protect against that happening. Now, if you can get people to collude with you, you could steal anybody's property, whether it's in a trust or not. If I can get an attorney and a title company to collude with me, we're off and running. But that typically doesn't happen. And the title companies will want to see a copy of the trust agreement. They'll want to see a letter of direction from the beneficiary instructing the trustee to sign the mortgage or sign the deed. They'll want to verify who the beneficiary is. There are lots of checks and balances that will not allow a trustee just to walk away with your property or go out and get a loan against it.
Yeah, very good information. Very good. Let's see. Okay, that's our other ones. Okay, any more questions from our panelists? Anybody?
Well, I've got a couple of announcements to make here. Raineys going to be in town the first week of May. So Monday, May 1st, he's going to be in Denton, Texas at our Real Impact location there at 6:30 p.m. Tuesday on May the 2nd, he's going to be in Grand Prairie, South Dallas, also at 6:30 p.m. Wednesday, May 3rd, Randy's going to be in Wichita Falls at 6:30. Thursday, May the 4th, DFW Airport area, 6:30 p.m. Friday, May the 5th, we're all going to gather together, whether you go to his event on Saturday, the May 20th, but we're going to have dinner together on Friday, May the 5th, in the North Dallas area.
At Flaming Buffet.
At the Flaming Buffet. There you go. So dinner's on you, not Randy. Dinner's on whoever comes to eat. You're going to pay for your own dinner. But he's going to have dinner the night before the Saturday event, which is going to be in the Plano area at 9:30 a.m. And then he's going to zip over to Longview at 3 p.m. It's going to cover the East Texas area. And then his full day boot camp is Saturday, May the 20th. Excuse me. Saturday, May the 20th. In the North Dallas area at the Quest Building. And the cost for that full day Saturday is $49. And so, Randy, can you tell us kind of what they're going to see the difference in what your evening classes are or your pre-presentation versus your Saturday boot camp?
Yeah, thanks for asking, Roger, because there is a big difference. At each of the meetings, I'll be able to speak for about an hour, is all they will allot me. And so I will talk about not only the many benefits of using these trusts, but how to actually create a trust, an explanation of it, of how we create these trusts, and how we use them in our business day to day. And that's about all I have time for. But on the May 20th, the Saturday all day training, we're going to dive really deep into this. We're going to talk about privacy and asset protection. We're going to create our first land trust with my 6.0 trust agreement. It's a 40-page document that I've developed over the last 40-some years of using these trusts. And we'll break it all down. I'll explain it, answer all your questions so you feel comfortable using this document. And then you'll have that first trust agreement. Now, in addition, I'm going to give you some on the drawing board, on the whiteboard. I'm going to explain several deals that I've done in different with different techniques. For example, I'll explain a pure option deal. That's where I have the right to buy a house, no lease, no tenants, no toilets, no insurance, no liability, nothing. I just have the right to buy your house for a certain price in the future. And how you do that, because I mean, just think about it, guys. We've all seen some pretty significant appreciation this last few years, haven't we? I mean, what would you guys say? If you bought an option on a $100,000 house 3 years ago, what would that $100,000 house be worth today?
At least double, if not more.
You think so in your area? That's 3 years. That's some great appreciation, and I believe it in Texas especially. Tennessee, Florida have also had those kind of numbers. So let's say you'd bought an option on a house 3 years ago for a $100,000 house, and you gave them $10,000 for the option. Here, 3 years later, the house is worth $200,000. That kind of sounds to me like you just made $90,000, right?
Right.
You got your 10 back, and you got 90,000 in addition. That's about as easy money as you're ever going to get. So we're going to talk a lot about options and how to protect your assets using options and how to make money using options. I'll structure deals that I've used with my children when they were minors, and when now that they're adults, how we structure deals, family deals, things within the family to help the kids start growing their assets. And we're going to talk about financing deals that we structure where we got none of our own money in it. We have the seller take a note back at no interest, no payments, which makes your cash flow cover everything. So there's, after 5 decades of doing this, I got a few things down, I think, right. And I want to teach you folks these techniques because in many regards, especially with the option techniques, nobody else is doing this. You have no competition. So, if you have no competition, that makes your life a lot easier than out there beating your brains against the wall against 3 other investors that are willing to pay more money than you are, because, we're running into that. There's a lot of real estate investors out there, and not all of them are very smart, and sometimes they're willing to pay way more than what they should, just because they're trying to get a deal. I remember one of my mentors was a guy named Jimmy Napier. Lived down in Florida. It was very successful, but he told me one time, he said, I got so wound up in telling people that I did a one deal every month that I found that I was making deals that weren't that good just so I could maintain that presence amongst all other real estate investors. And I'm doing one deal a month. I'm 12 deals a year. I'm a big guy. So we don't want to get to that level. It's better to do one deal a year that's very profitable than 12 deals that are marginal. So we'll get into lots of that kind of stuff. And I'll answer all your questions about these trusts, and then you'll be off and running and operating at a level that hardly anybody understands except us really smart real estate investors.
Wonderful.
There you go.
Wonderful. Well, Jesus, I saw in the comments that you're in the Austin area. So we do not have a real impact location in Austin at this time, but I'm always looking to bring on new locations. So if you know anyone, or if you might be interested, make sure you reach out to me. CJ, can we make sure that we put the website? Jesus, if you want to come join us that day on May the 20th, it's going to be a full day advanced training with Randy Hughes, Mr. Land Trust, and it's $49 here in the North Dallas area. And you can go sign up at realimpactevents.com. There's a little pop-up down there. Just click on that and go get signed up for that. We look forward to seeing you guys there.
Absolutely. And
we're happy to have you back.
Yeah. And Jesus, you can come up to the north or the South Dallas Grand Prairie meeting that we are going to be having on Tuesday, May the 2nd. So come up there. It's at the main event. That'll be easy way to get there, or Longview would probably be the next closest for you. And Longview is going to be Saturday afternoon, May the 6th. So those are two options, but we have Randy's going to be doing 6 meetings, and we're going to have the last one we had with Randy 2 years ago was a sellout. We totally expect this one to be a sellout too. I am absolutely amazed with the success that our people had, the people that came to the Randy's event and invested in Land Trust. I'm absolutely amazed on how well they have done. We have lots of conversations on that because, once again, with me being in subject 2, we do a lot of land trust, and we talk to a lot of people that are doing land trust. And
I think they work
very
hand
well.
in hand together really well.
Absolutely. So, well, very good. So, Randy, thank you so much for being on this call tonight. Does anybody have any closing comments before we go to dinner?
If anybody has any questions, feel free to give me a call. My number is 903-445-6023. If you need to know where Randy's going to be, when he's going to be near you, where the meeting is, what time it is, if you need to know any of that, you can feel free to give me a call. And you can also go to realimpacttraining.com and click on the meetings button, and then view our calendar to know more about all the different meetings that we had going on, because we just have so many. So
very good.
We're really excited about it, Randy.
Can I leave with one comment?
Absolutely.
Another thing I like to teach in my all-day training is there are 4 main categories of income that we all are subject to. That if you can get your income to come into your tax return with those 4 categories, I will teach you how that one technique alone will save you 25%. So in other words, if you do the same amount of work in 2023 as you did in 2022, I'll teach you how to get a 25% increase in your income. And then you can use that 25% increase to buy more property.
Well,
And if
I'm
you-
excited
if
to
you-
hear about
Wow.
that.
If you do that every year, going forward, if you got 20, 30 more years left in you, that's going to add up to a whole lot of money. So we'll get into those 4 categories, and you think about what 4 categories that those might be. Okay.
All right.
Absolutely.
Good deal.
I'm excited about that. Let's
All
save
right.
the money.
We,
All right. Thanks for the invite. Appreciate it.
absolutely. So, and Randy will be joining us in Cancun on our getaway. We'll be talking more about that at our locations, and that's going to be towards the end of September. So, we're excited about that happening. So, Randy, thank you so much for being on this call. And we will not be meeting next week on our call, but we will be meeting the week after that. I'm trying to get the date on that. I'm
May
sorry.
7th,
May 7th. Thank you.
the day after Randy leaves.
And Randy, if you're in town, we'd love to have you on that call because that'll be right at actually. No, we're meeting. We're going to be meeting before then. Maybe if we can get Randy on the call on Sunday, April 30th, that will be great. So if we'll do a special call for that if you're in town. I know you're fixing to go on a little mini vacation, and
Well, let's
but-
see. So the 30th, that's 2 weeks from today, right?
that's 2 weeks from today.
Yeah. No, I'm going to Cancun on Friday. I'll be back a few days later. I will be at home on April 30th. And then that next day I'll be flying down to start these meetings. So
Very
April
good.
30th looks good to me.
All right. So if we can, if y'all can be on this call on April 30th, anybody on the chat end or have more questions for Randy or anybody on this panel, that'd be great. So we'll just plan on you being on our call for April 30th.
Okay. I'll put it down. Thank you, folks.
All right. Good deal. Thank you.
All right. Good night.
Good
Good
night,
night.
everybody.
Good night. Thank you.
Be safe.
Running your own real estate investment business can be stressful, time-consuming, and difficult to manage. Where do you start? Why go out and try and reinvent the wheel when we have the answer? With our exclusive training program, we will teach you how to free up your time to build your business, develop your goals, learning where to find the money, how to find better deals, keeping track of offers, building a team, and developing a business plan that works for you. We at Real Impact Real Estate Training and Mentoring have all the answers for you. We have several plans to help you get your business to the next level. We have developed the best one-on-one personal training system in the industry. We have a proven structure that has been developed for more than 50 years through the purchase and sales of thousands of homes and commercial properties. We will help you set up and build your real estate investment business. Whether you are new to investing or you are a seasoned professional, we have a plan for you to customize your business to a method that works, is affordable, and fits your budget. With training modules like finding money, finding deals, learning how to get correct comps, building a team, short sales, subject twos, foreclosures, making multiple offers, understanding auctions, REOs, and tax sales, working to build your construction team, and finding sellers and buyers. Find your property management team, plus over 70 additional training modules to choose from. Sit down with us for a one-on-one consulting to see what training plan is best to develop your goals and to build your business by using the 5 M's of investing: mining, money, maintenance, marketing, and management. Wouldn't your life be great if you can live it on your own terms? We help you develop and structure your business to take massive action. Join the Real Impact Real Estate Training today. Change your life today with real estate investing.